Hi, I have Joey here with me. He's a senior PM on the PowerShell team, and he's going to tell us more about what's next with PowerShell.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Sydney.
So when can we expect more releases of PowerShell?
So now that we've released PowerShell 7 GA, we're going to be moving to an annual cadence in regards to our GAs. And this is actually to align better with the .NET team. So .NET has moved with the release of .NET 3.1. It's also moving to an annual cadence. They're sort of doing a TikTok where they have an LTS release every other release. Those LTSs are supported for 3 years. So with .NET Core 3.1, that's an LTS release, which means that PowerShell 7 will be an LTS release. And then our next release will coincide with theirs roughly in December of this year, so December of 2020. And that will be a non-LTS release that PowerShell will move to. So we're going to continue the cadence of 1 month previews. And you'll see one, if not already by the publication of this video, very shortly after, and then continuing with previews every month, just as we did with 7. We're just giving ourselves a little bit more lead time to really get that release up to snuff, and then also to align with .NET, because we've been working a lot more closely with the .NET team and aligning our release cadence. We shipped the PowerShell into the .NET SDK Docker images. And so, there's a lot of this work we're doing with them, and it just makes a lot more sense from an engineering perspective for us to snap towards their releases.
Very cool. Thanks for that explanation. So what themes or technologies excite you as you look forward to the 7.1 milestone?
Yeah, so we're doing all kinds of cool stuff in 7.1. A lot of this is still very much in the investigation phase, and this is by no means an exhaustive list. As we allow the community to really drive a lot of our prioritization. As new pull requests come in, there's going to be plenty of opportunity for people to contribute what they think is important into PowerShell 7.1. But right now we're looking very heavily at a lot of improvements to the interactive shell experience. So we're looking at colorization and themes and different effects that can be done in text, and interacting with terminals cross-platform in this sort of very interactive way. But we're also looking at ways to enhance the shell experience for automated scenarios as well, working better with native tools as Bash does. We're looking into some experimentation around how to expand our tab completion, both to bring in sort of the native tool completions that Bash provides, as well as potentially some more innovative, more really predictive tab completion. But we're also looking at some low-level engineering investigations. So we're looking into potentially how to shrink the size of PowerShell, or to fork and have a potentially different distribution of PowerShell for more of these embedded or hosted scenarios. We're additionally looking at ways to improve the performance of PowerShell. And so you're going to see more and more of these sort of come out as 7.1 progresses. But again, we're going to be opening issues. We want to get your thinking on whether these are good ideas or not. But we've also got all this awesome stuff that Sydney's been working on around the secret management and Jupyter notebooks and PowerShell Get 3. And so even though a lot of this work isn't going into 7.1 directly or at first, a lot of this innovation is happening in a lot of those modules. And so we're sort of starting to work from the outside. We're adopting more of this philosophy where, hey, we want to make sure that modules in particular are in really good shape before we start to make the call on whether or not to include them with PowerShell. And that's why you're seeing us come out to the gallery first with preview versions of these modules, and go down a road where we decide at a later date whether their inclusion with PowerShell is a good idea or not.
Yeah, it sounds like users really have a lot to look forward to over the next year.
Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff coming, more than I can even speak to right now. So yeah.
Is there any chance you could give us an early demo of a feature that might ship in PowerShell 7?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've got something lined up right here. We can give it a try and see what's going on. So one of the things we just talked about is the sort of predictive IntelliSense. So one of the things you'll notice we've got get history, and I'm already giving a little peek there. But if we look at the history of this shell, you'll see, okay, we've got some stuff that's gone on here, and potentially there's this longer history, which I won't print out here. But if we look at get PS readline option, you'll notice that there's this save path here, which is the history save path. And so in this file, you get this persistent history of everything that you've typed thus far. which is what allows PS Readline, the up in PS Readline to go beyond what you originally have in Get History. So what we've done here is implement something that's very similar to what's in, excuse me, typing that wrong. Very similar to what's in other shells like Fish or Z Shell that have more of these sort of tab completion helpers. And one of those things is to give you predictive completions. So, you know, in the old world, I'd say, hey, I want to get process, and I would tab complete that thing, and you know, I get all the available things that could be parsed as a valid command, and then as I go forward, you know, I use a dash to denote a parameter, and then I can tab complete, and I'm going to be able to rotate through these completions. But with this you know, predictive feature, we're actually offering another type of completion here. So instead of tab completion, I've actually got this right arrow completion. And so as I type get process, you'll notice that there's this text in gray to the right of my cursor. That's not text I've typed, but it's actually being pulled from the last known command that matches what I've typed so far. So this is very similar to Control R. If I hit Control R, you know, I'm able to search through my past history, and then as I hit Control R, I continue to rotate through the things that match that. In this case, the ordering actually matters here. So, you know, I'm not fuzzy matching everything. I'm fuzzy matching, you know, or I'm actually strict matching the front end of this command. So as I type get process, you'll notice that, you know, Sydney has typed get process on her machine in the past. And I can still tab complete that as I normally would. But as I get to the end, you know, I've got this extra space. And so the fact that this space exists tells the machine, hey, match on something in my history where get process space is in the front of that command. And so I've got this thing here with dash name code. So if I hit the right arrow, I'm actually going to complete that completion, and I'm just going to get the rest of that gray text as what I've typed now. So, you know, this is a fairly basic use case in that it's just matching against your history in PS Readline, but we plan on making this an extensible platform and allowing you to execute arbitrary script block in order to generate that completion. Obviously, we want the latency on that thing to be very low, but we hope pretty soon we can share an interface with everyone that'll allow them to extend this functionality to, you know, potentially smarter ways to get those completions, you know, to pull them from documentation or examples, or, you know, potentially even playing with machine learning, you know, to construct suggestions based on the context of what you're doing. So you're going to see more and more come out from that. Again, I want to exemplify the fact that, you know, we often do experiments within the PowerShell team, and sometimes these experiments can iterate much more rapidly when we don't necessarily share our very, very initial thinking. But we do promise to, you know, introduce this using our experimental features and to have RFCs and all those sorts of things to follow our process. But sometimes we like to do these experiments internally just to understand if that's even something worth pursuing. And you'll be getting some more information from us on that as well, you know, and the process that we're going to be following in the open source model for the repository pretty shortly. So keep your eyes peeled and ears open. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, this is so cool. I look forward to getting tons of feedback from this in our preview releases.
Me too. Me too.